Staying in the United States, the United Kingdom's Prime Minister Keir Starmer met former President Donald Trump in New York on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly on Thursday. The two leaders were joined by Britain's Foreign Secretary David Lammy in a meeting that lasted more than 2 hours and included a private dinner. The British Prime Minister said the meeting was meant to establish good relations between him and Donald Trump, stating that they had never met before. Addressing the media, Donald Trump said he congratulated Prime Minister Starmer on his win, but then talked about Britain's controversial far-right leader, Nigel Farage.
But I actually think he's very nice. I think he ran a great race. He did very well. Well, I think Nigel is great. I mean, I've known him for a long time. He had a great election, too. He picked up a lot of seats, more seats than he was allowed to have, actually. They acknowledge that he won, but for some reason you have a very strange system over there.
Now, it's worth noting that Secretary Lammy was also present throughout the dinner. The British secretary has previously called Donald Trump a racist, a neo-Nazi, and a sympathizing sociopath. Addressing his former comments, Secretary Lammy said he would work with Donald Trump and his administration if they win the election in November. Now, despite meeting the Republican presidential candidate, Prime Minister Starmer and Secretary Lammy were unable to meet Vice President Kamala Harris due to conflicting schedules. The Democratic presidential candidate was unable to travel to New York as she met Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky at the White House. Drawing a stark contrast from her rival Donald Trump, Vice President Harris reaffirmed more support for Ukraine. She also called out Donald Trump for parroting Vladimir Putin's talking points, demanding Ukraine cede a sovereign territory to Russia in order to achieve a ceasefire.
As I have made clear on our 6 previous meetings and throughout Putin's brutal aggression and war against Ukraine, my support for the people of Ukraine is unwavering. I've been proud to stand with Ukraine. Nothing about the end of this war can be decided without Ukraine. However, in candor, I share with you, Mr. President, there are some in my country who would instead force Ukraine to give up large parts of its sovereign territory, who would demand that Ukraine accept neutrality and would require Ukraine to forego security relationships with other nations. These proposals are the same of those of Putin. And let us be clear, they are not proposals for peace. Instead, they are proposals for surrender, which is dangerous and unacceptable.
With the U.S. election just around the corner, world leaders are eager to meet both the Democratic and Republican presidential candidates in a bid to cement ties early, as America braces for what could be the most consequential U.S. presidential election this century.